Here at PhoneBurner, we use a concept of foldering to help you manage and organize your contacts within the PhoneBurner CRM. And this is great because it helps you very easily move contacts from one stage to another, whether you're in a dial session and clicking a disposition that moves them from one folder to another, or you're in the contact manager directly and you're just dragging and dropping a contact from one folder to another. You can even select a whole group of contacts and move them from one folder to another. Right? So you can see it's very easy to help you stay organized by keeping contacts in specific folders based off of where they are in your sales pipeline. But how do you track that? How can we report on that? And with the PhoneBurner reporting tool, I want to show you how you can take advantage of the foldering concept in PhoneBurner to track how many contacts are in each stage within your specific sales process. So let's click on the Reports tab up at the top. And we're going to click on Add Report. From there, we're going to create a new report. I'm going to call this New Funnel Report. I'm going to skip the description because I'm lazy. Report type, I'm going to make this a member detail type of report. And I'm going to set the default date range to, let's say, the last 30 days. Now keep in mind, when we're building a report that's based off of folders, the date range is not going to affect the number of records that we see in any specific folder. Because when we run the report, we're looking at how many contacts are in any given folder at that time. But there are going to be other things, other data points that we will add to this report that will be affected by that date range. So you want to pay attention to the date range a little bit, and you'll be able to adjust the date range, of course, whenever you're looking at a report. But I just wanted to throw that out. We'll talk about that again probably as we go through this as well. I'm going to go ahead and include the graph because, hey, why not? When it comes to the leaderboard, I'm going to leave that alone. In fact, I'll just leave that. I'll set that to no, and we'll go ahead and save. All right, so now we have our report created, or the basics created. Now we need to add the specific fields or data points that we want to include in our funnel reports. So over on the left-hand side, I'm going to click on Fields. And here you can see all of the different default fields that are added. I want to leave the agent's full name in there because each line I want to know whose information I'm looking at, right? I do want to track total calls. I want to track total live answers. In this particular case, I don't care about average talk time and I don't care about email. So I'm going to clear both of those out by clicking on the little trash can button and deleting those specific data points. And I'm going to add some new fields. So let's click on Add a New Field. And let's go to Type and select Folder. And now I just need to choose the folder that I want to add to this specific area of the report, as this data point. And so remember, the folders here are going to be different for me than they are for you, right? You're going to be creating your own series of folders. So I might want to be able to track how many contacts are in my appointment scheduled bucket, the contacts in my follow-up bucket, the contacts that are in my past due bucket, whatever my process is, in my closed/won bucket. And I might have a closed/lost bucket if I ever lost any business, but we don't lose business here, so everything just goes to closed won. Anyway, just kidding here. We might just move those into not interested. So let's take a look here. Let's start with appointment scheduled. So we'll do field label is going to be APT scheduled. And we'll hit save. And then our next one is going to be follow-up. Type is folder. Follow-up. Say, oh, I chose the wrong folder there, didn't I? My click was too fast or too late, one of the two. Add a new field. What's another one? Let's do not interested. and then we'll do our close/1. Oh, see, I do have close/lost there. I just hadn't scrolled down. Let's add close/lost as well. I thought I did. But you never know. Sometimes I get into these demo accounts and I don't get everything put in there. So where did it go? Close/lost. So lots of different folders in there, but you get the idea. You identify the specific folders that you want to add. So now we've got the basics of the report created. Now we need to define which seats, which team members are going to be included in this report. So we're going to click on the seats option. Again, we can select all, like in this particular case, or I could go in and cherry pick specific team members that I want to include in this specific report. Now, I'm going to go ahead and leave this selected to all and save. I will point this out as well. Up here at the top, you have two options. You can view active seats. You can also view all seats, which would include suspended seats. So if you have high turnover and you're building a specific report, but you want that report to include team members that have moved on, right? Whether by choice or not by choice, you can include suspended seats, in which case you'd be able to select those and include those. And if you have it just set to all and include suspended seats, you shouldn't ever have to edit this. If you're not selecting all, regardless of view active and view all, anytime you want to adjust which seats or team members are showing up, you would have to come in and edit this report. So anyway, I'm going to leave that as is because I've already saved it. Now let's jump over to email delivery. We'll talk about this real quickly. I'm not going to add any email delivery to this specific report, but let's talk about daily, weekly, and monthly email delivery options. So this is a little bit different than how you might think about it when you first come here, right? So every report has a default date range, and that's irrelevant when it comes to the email delivery option. Every report can have, when you're viewing the report, you can choose different date ranges. That's irrelevant when it comes to the email option. When you're defining emails that will be sent specific to this report, if you choose the daily option, we will send an email every day that shows you all of the activity from yesterday specific to that report. So all of the team members and all of those data points, those fields that you included. If you choose weekly, you're going to choose a day of the week. In fact, let me just choose that. You're going to choose a day of the week that you want to receive the report, and the system will include the previous 7 days worth of activity in that email. If you want to receive a weekly report every day, then you can add email delivery multiple times, right? So you could add it 7 different times so that you get a weekly report every day of the week, or maybe you only want it Monday through Friday. And the same thing goes with monthly. When you choose the monthly option, you choose the day of the month you want to receive the report, and the system will send the report and include the previous 30 days worth of activity. So if you want to get a monthly report every day of the month, you would add this 31 times. And of course, it gives you the previous 30 days of activity. So it's not specifically looking at the month, it's giving you the previous 30 days worth of activity in that report. So again, I'm not going to add any email delivery to this specific report, but I did want to talk about that so that you were clear or had a better understanding. You may not be clear on it, but hopefully a little better understanding of it. So now that we've created the report, let's take a look at it. So let's click on the Reports tab up at the top. We will see our new funnel report listed here. We can click on that. It's going to show us the previous 30 days activity, just like we set the default. And we only have in the summary calls and talks, which is also what we have in the graph. But the graph is always just calls and talks, right? So we have unanswered calls and talks listed there. So you have an idea of what's going on. The summary, we could have summarized the folders up here to kind of give us an idea of how many contacts are in any given folder for the entire team. But the way I use this report is, and how I recommend teams use this, is when you do your weekly or daily one-on-ones, however your team runs. But I personally recommend that you have a weekly one-on-one with everybody on your sales team. So you're discussing the pipeline with the sales rep, right? So here we can see, okay, Jeff made 297 calls during this time frame. Is that good or bad? Let's have a discussion. Do you feel like you were able to make the amount of calls that you needed to make during this date range? Now, if we're doing a weekly one-on-one, I would want to set this defaulted to 7 days worth of activity so I don't have to adjust the date range, right? So we can talk about that previous 7 days worth of activity. You had 15 conversations. You've got 81 people in the appointment scheduled. Now, this is important to consider, that the appointment scheduled in this particular case is specific to the folder. So it does not indicate that we made 81 phone calls and had 81 new people added to the appointment scheduled folder. We have 81 people in the appointment scheduled folder for all time. So it's important to know that these folder options are showing you the exact number of contacts that are in those folders right now. So what I would probably want to do, and we'll go through and do this, is when I'm talking to them, I'm going to want to know how many of these were from this week or from this time frame. So let's go back and edit our report. Let's go to fields. We're going to click on add new field. We're going to call this one APT Dispo. I can type, and we're going to go to dispositions, and we're going to choose our appointment or booked appointment disposition, and let's include that in the summary as well. Hit save. And then I'm going to move this so it's right next to my appointment scheduled folder. So as I'm looking through this, as I'm discussing this with my team member, I can say, hey, I see you made X number of calls, had X number of conversations. Of those conversations, X number of them resulted in a disposition of appointment set, and you have X number of records in your appointment schedule folder. Where are we at with these people, right? We want to be able to have educated conversations, informed conversations. So let's go back to our new funnel report. And here now we can see Jeff made 297 calls, had 15 conversations, and 10 times clicked the appointment booked disposition, representing, what is that? More than 10%, 12, 13% of the contacts that are in his appointment scheduled folder, right? And I could do the same thing with follow up and not interested and closed/won and closed/lost. However, closed won and closed lost, those may not actually happen in a dial session. So there may not be a disposition that really fits for those. Whereas some of these others, appointments and follow-ups, typically will happen in a dial session. Not interested, probably happen in a dial session, but not necessarily always. But you'll also notice that every one of these numbers is clickable. So as an admin, I can say, hey, I see you talked to 15 people in the last 7 days, or whatever the time frame is. I can click on that as an admin and see who those people were. If I've got call recording turned on and I've got the transcription option enabled and I'm doing summaries, as an admin, I'll be able to view and read the transcription summary right here. So I'll see who they called, when they called them, how long the call lasted, the summary, and then I can decide if I want to listen to the recording. And I can go through this and review that with the rep through, while we're on a call together, right? I can say, okay, let's talk about this, and we can go through this together. Tell me about Michael. You talked to him on the 11th. Where's he at now? Right? That's what I can do as an admin. It gives me conversation pieces with my reps to make sure that they're taking care of their prospects. We can go back here. If I click on the appointment scheduled folder option, so the 81, this is going to be a little bit different because it's not from a specific dial session, but I do get to view the notes. So I can see the most recent notes on this record. So I get to see their name, their email, their phone number, their current status, right? So their current status may not be the same as booked appointment, right? Because somebody may have been called or so on and so forth since that appointment was booked. Hopefully they have, especially if it's been more than a day or two, right? And then I can review the notes. I can say, okay, this is what you have in the notes in PhoneBurner. Is this up to date? Because a lot of times sales reps will get lazy and we won't add our notes to the records. And so information gets lost. It's like, I remember it, so I don't put it in there. And it's like, right? But we want to make sure that we're coaching our team members to add notes to the contact records so that when you're doing these one-on-ones, when you're sitting down with them, you can review this information. You can make sure that they're moving all of their contacts along. And you can go through there and you can say, hey, you can look at these date ranges. Like, hey, you haven't talked to so-and-so for months, and he's still in your appointment scheduled bucket. Let's move him out, right? Let's do something else with him. Do we need to have somebody else do some chasing on that person, right? So this just gives you an opportunity to just kind of do some data hygiene, right? Clean up the data. Make sure that everything's moving along or moving out, right? We don't have anything getting stale, unless, of course, we've decided that it's no longer visible, needs to be in our view. Right? Because having 81 contacts in an appointment scheduled folder, I'm not tracking all of that, right? That's too much. Same with follow-ups, not interested, right? You can drill down into all of these. And so each week you want to see these funnels moving along. You want to see closed won, closed lost growing. You might expect to see a consistent number in appointment scheduled, follow-up, and not interested. Well, not interested would probably be growing as well. But your follow-ups and your appointment scheduled buckets, you want to see a consistent number in there week over week over week, right? Because we want to make sure things are moving through those. So anyway, that is what I like to refer to as a funnel report. It's an option, a tool that you can take advantage of here in the reports in PhoneBurner to help you as an admin track in kind of a visual way, just kind of see, okay, what's going on? How am I doing? If you're the only one on your team making phone calls, it still gives you that view of how is everything going for you. But of course, if you're a team admin, I highly recommend doing one-on-ones weekly, at the least monthly, so that you're going through all of the contacts that your team member is working, and you're making sure that everything is kind of moving along, that they don't have a bunch of stuff piling up in follow-ups that they're just not following up with. So anyway, that is it for this specific training. I hope this helps you get more out of the PhoneBurner system so that you and your team can connect with more people and close more deals. Thanks again, and happy dialing.